Oh, the weather outside is weird. And I think it's Wednesday. And if we have no place to go, let's complain, let's complain, let's complain. I totally know that's how the song goes. Gonna try and get our steps in today. Don't know how many we're gonna get in. And while we're doing it, I'm taking you with me. And we're gonna play tabletop role-playing game Controversy Jeopardy. And we have got some new, please don't be a dead animal, some new categories in tabletop role-playing game Controversy Jeopardy on the board that have popped up across the multiple feeds that I lurk around in. Now, actually, neither of these are new categories. They're actually very, oh, it's just a piece of plastic. Very old controversy categories. They're so old that I'd forgotten about them in the greater scheme of things we complain about, but for reasons that yours truly cannot comprehend, in the great big melting pot of I don't care. Why is this important? Good afternoon, dog. These have reared their ugly head again, and several individuals in the tabletop role-playing game community have taken umbrage. I love that word, umbrage. I'm pretty sure it means what I think it means. If not, it's still a cool sounding word. With these controversies, and then they've all opened up their gaping maws of I need something to complain about, and are complaining about these things. So the two things we're complaining about are all the classes that suck and why they suck, and alignment. Yes, we're complaining about alignment again. I thought we were done with alignment, but it's come up again. We have the alignment was a good thing, but it's not a good thing anymore camp. We have the alignment was a good thing, and it still isn't a good thing camp. We have the alignment was never a good thing camp, and then we have the what's alignment camp. And I don't even know if alignment's still in 2024 5e, or if it's just completely been gotten away with because the whole idea of good versus evil no longer exists in D&D. So alignment being either somewhere in that spectrum of yes, no, maybe. For every person that thinks alignment was a good idea, there's a person that thinks that it wasn't. For every person that thinks alignment is still a good idea, there's a person that thinks it's dumb. And then there's a few people who are like, I don't know what that is and I don't really care. How does it affect my game? And I'm definitely in the, yeah, I remember alignment, don't care. We played the way we played, and that's the way I play, whatever. Mine has always been, I don't care, as long as when you're in town, you're heroes and you don't kill my NPCs. You want to be chaotic evil necromancer? Fine. Let's see where that story goes. Town is safe. Don't burn mine down. Don't burn down town. Don't be dumb in town. Don't kill the NPCs in town. Why did you kill that guy? Well, he was trying to sell me a horse. Yes, he was trying to sell you a horse and you killed him. Why? He was annoying. He was annoying because he was trying to do his job. So you did 86 hit points damage to a guy with 4. And now you're wanted for murder. Was it worth it? You could have just walked away. That's an actual thing from a game I had. So alignment's a thing, but alignment's always been a thing, and now it's becoming a thing again because of the whole new Wizards of the Coast versus evil, and the idea that there is no more empirical evil in D&D anymore. You know, they're not evil, they're misunderstood. Evil is a choice, it's not predetermined, and since it's a choice, you can change your mind. Yeah, I'm not evil, I'm just robbing a bank because I need money. Well, and I'm not evil because I'm trying to stop you from robbing the bank. And neither of us are evil, even though we're burning down the town, because there's no more evil in D&D. So I assume that is why the alignment controversy has reared its ugly head. But nobody can really come up with a decent I hate alignment argument or a decent I love you alignment argument. I love you so. Other than, well, it's a crutch for role playing, or it helped role playing, or it helped, determine what the bad guys or good guys did. which is always what it was supposed to be, right? You know, there was the good guys, the player characters, who took from the good alignments, usually law or whatever. And then there were the neutral guys. And then there were the bad guys, who were usually chaotic. And law and chaos. Now, not that law was always good, because law could also be evil. Good afternoon. And not that chaos was always evil, because there could be chaos that was for good. So they expanded upon the alignment rainbow, and then people were like, oh, it's just a role-playing clutch, I'm not going to use it. I only use it to sort of generally determine how guys are going to react. Blah, 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 blah. 50 years later, it's still sort of this like nebulous thing that most people don't really pay attention to unless it involves like a spell, right? Or a magic item, or something to do with your class, you know, and then you're like, oh yeah, I can use that magic item I just remembered. I'm chaotic good. Then it comes into practice. So is this a controversy worth having in 2025? And again, I think, you know, your characters are going to do what your characters are going to do, and there are repercussions for your characters' activities. If you engage in what society would deem an evil act, there are repercussions. If you start murdering townsfolk, there are repercussions for your actions. You can justify your actions, but others will perceive your actions as either good or evil, because we're multifaceted individuals. Monsters, on the other hand, especially if it's a monster, you know, that's only there to be beaten up, you don't really need the complex moral dilemmas of why that goblin is doing what it's doing. You know, it's just, this is a zombie. It's just doing his zombie stuff, and you're there to stop it. There's no epic backstory of soap opera proportions behind why this zombie horde is attacking the village. They're just empirically evil. Go kill them, get your experience points, move on, don't bother, right? So we're doing that. And I have a feeling that one's gonna bop around for a while now, because every time it looks like it's about to cool off, Wizards just comes and pokes the bear a little and is like, oh yeah, hey, racism. Oh yeah, hey, Joe, a racist. Oh yeah, there's no more evil in D&D. And then people get all upset, like, oh man, we play D&D, Joe, we're evil, and the orcs were evil, and blah, blah, blah. How dare you, blah, 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 blah. In my game, I played traditional D&D for 27,000 decades. We played blah, 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 right? Now the problem with this anger, which I do milk the fuck out for my podcast, so who am I to complain too much about it, is people who don't play 2024 D&D are complaining about choices made in regards to 2024 D&D. You're not playing it, you're not running it, why do you care? Yes, when you played, orcs are evil, and guess what? Orcs can still be evil at your table because you're using a system that isn't D&D. So, whatever. I have empirical evil races in my game, but then I'm not running 5e, and I'm not running by the current 5e emotional rainbow. So, I acknowledge that, hey, these guys are bad guys. Deal with it. And the players in my game seem to have a problem. Nobody's, gotten the argument with me about the motivation of the bad guys. Usually they are just shoot them. I shoot them. I don't even bother. Even when the bad guys want to talk, they just kill them. So it's holding up a lantern to 50 years of the way hundreds of thousands of people played the game, and Wizards of the Coast suddenly saying, well, that's wrong, and then implying that the 50-year, 100,000 people history were somehow bad. That's that false virtue signaling again. It's not just the we've changed the way we perceive these races in D&D to better envelop a more open-minded gaming culture. It's if you play this way in any game, but especially D&D, of the hundreds of different role-playing games out there, and if you're one of the 5 million people who are playing and have been playing for 50 years, if you played and you made orcs evil in your game, that somehow reflects on you as a person. That because you see evil in this evil race, you see evil in people who are different than you. That's racism. So that is what we have trouble with, and that's the argument. Not, was alignment a good idea or a bad idea, or did it go too far and not far enough? It's this virtue signaling that Wizards of the Coast keeps shoving down our throat, and this idea that something we did in the past was foul and villainous because of make-believe and playing a game. Afternoon, my shoe's untied. Why? Why is my shoe untied? It's always untied. Why? I don't understand. There's no cure for shoe being untied, but with your donations, maybe we can find shoes that just slip on and don't require being tied. Okay, hold on, I'm putting you down. I'm back. So at 11 minutes in, that's where I stand on this category of tabletop role-playing game controversy jeopardy in regards to alignment and what alignment was or wasn't. Don't care. Never cared. Unless I'm playing a paladin, doesn't matter. All my characters are heroes, and I expect all the characters in my games to be heroic. You can be Darth Vader and still be heroic. Good afternoon. Good afternoon, puppy. Good afternoon. Cute puppy. Okay. So I thought that, it was pretty funny to see this rear its ugly head again, because it hasn't reared its ugly head in a while, but I get why it's rearing its ugly head. We're all very tired of Jason Tondo and Jeremy Crawford and Jeremy Crawford Jr. and Todd telling us how awful we were because we play this game in a certain way, and rewriting the history of the game, rewriting factual events to make people think, oh, this is what I thought, this is the person the OGGM was, because in the OGGM's Dungeons and Dragons and Multiverse, orcs were evil. There was implicit inherent evil, and there still is implicit inherent evil in my games. So I'm assuming that's what caused this kerfuffle. That's another great word, kerfuffle. But on the tail end of this argument, we also have the classes suck. This class sucks. This class makes no sense. Now, in this argument, I don't know if they're talking about classes today and comparing them to the classes of old. Are they still called classes, or have they changed that too? Oh, it's not a class anymore. Class implies a class-based system where some are better than others. It's now professions. I'd be happy if you called it a profession, because that's what it was. It was always a profession. It wasn't a class. You don't go to paladin school or barbarian school. It's either a background or a profession. Interesting enough, I have found people who have trouble with all the secondary classes and some of the core classes, but fighters seem to be okay. And wizards also seem to be getting a pass on this latest round of I don't like that. But the other classes, rogue, cleric, druid, monk, bard, barbarian, paladin, they're getting the thing. They're getting the Howdy. Hi, little friend. So they're getting the thing. And again, is it that you're comparing today to the past and saying the past was better? Or are you saying the class as a whole makes no sense? Because I stumbled across one talking about the difference between druids, between rogues and thieves, and why did wizards change the name? And that's causing some back and forth. We've got another one talking about how druids suck. We got the never-ending one about paladins. Even clerics are now starting to get run through the wash. Don't know why. Don't know how this started. Probably Harmony Ginger's fault. But it's a thing. It's a thing that doesn't need to be a thing. Yes, none of the classes in the game make sense. Most of them, when you think about them, are dumb and nonsensical and counterintuitive. And you can think, well, if I homebrewed this, I probably could have done a better take on class. And then that's how you get 5,000 other different D20 level paced Gygaxian fantasies. Because people went, I don't like this, I'm gonna change it. As long as I've changed it, I'm gonna sell it. So right now the big ones are cleric, druid, and thief. Druid not making sense and sucking and never really been able to find its place until it was bear tank druid, and then bear tank druid was the shizzle until they changed it, and then they were like, oh, now we're taking that away. We want to be druids to be more nature priest and not bear tanks. And people looked at the change and went, this new change is even dumber. And then wizards went, okay, we'll change it back, kind of. And now we have the new druid, and people are going, yeah, this is kind of dumb. To which I would respond, yeah, druids were always kind of dumb, because you never really knew what they were supposed to be. Are they nature priests? Are they shape changers? Are they elemental priests? Are they logical Vulcans? What are they? And even till this day, people are still like, I don't really know, you know. So most druids end up being a trope. You know, 80% of druids have been shape changers in some form or another, as long as that has been an option, because that's just easier to wrap around your head than the weirdness of their spells and their abilities. It's like, I turn into a bear, I kick ass. I've played one druid in 5e, and it was a halfling druid because I wanted him to wild shape only into small things. You know, every other druid was shape changing into bears and stuff like that. And I was like, well, what about the animals you're forgetting? Like, nobody ever shape changed into a porcupine or a skunk. I don't know, I think dropping a skunk in would be pretty effective. So I made my druid shape-changing halfling champion of the small, and everything I wild shaped to were things my size. Even when the DM said I didn't have to, I could still turn into a bear. I was like, nope, I'm not turning into a bear. I'm turning into a raccoon or a skunk, or a porcupine was one of my favorites. You know, I'd turn into a porcupine and have somebody throw me in the middle of combat, or I'd turn into a skunk. And then when I got my water form, it was, you know, small things, not big fish. I was like, yeah, I turned into a tuna. And when I got my flying form, it was something small. Like I turned into a bat. And when I got my dire form, and he was like, oh, you could be a dire bear or a dire tiger. I was like, dire raccoon. He was like, well, dire raccoon? He's like, yeah, it fits the theme. It's still teeny. You know, it's about the size of a St. Bernard, which for a raccoon is pretty big. Good afternoon. but it was still the thing. But I digress. But yeah, druids don't make sense. Monks never make sense. Bards don't make sense. Paladins, barbarians, rangers, none of those classes make sense. And they shouldn't have to make sense because this is a ridiculous game of ridiculousness. So the fact that none of the secondary classes have ever made sense is fine, you know? Don't have to justify it. It's game. And it's just built into the understanding of this is the way game works. If you don't like that the way it works, change it or find different game that lets you do what you want to do, right? Because there are other games out there, boys and girls, besides D&D. My back's hurting. I'm never going to get it back up to 10,000 steps. Now I'm supposed to be doing 12,000 steps a day, 100 miles in 28 days or some such. It's like, dude, I'm lucky if I could do one lap. I'm old. I'm out of shape. I need to sit in the hot tub now. So yeah. Now and I understand that those are things because they've always been things. People have always been, that's controversy. I don't like that. And again, my 40 some odd years of playing the hobby all across the world with, you know, thousands of people and decades of playing, I just look across this amazing landscape and go, I don't care. Don't care. It's not worth losing sleep over. Change it or find a game that lets you do what you want, but stop being dumb. And then we get to the rogue versus thief one. People are like, well, rogues are dumb. Of course they're dumb. Why did they change from thief to rogue? I don't know. There's no such thing as a heroic thief, so they changed it to rogue to be more heroic. Because, yeah, rogue is such a heroic term. And, yes, there are heroic thieves. Alibaba, heroic thief. Fafhrd and the Grey Master, heroic thieves. Conan, heroic thief. Bilbo, heroic thief. They changed the name because rogue sounds more heroic. Because when you think rogue, you think the chick from the X-Men that stole Captain Marvel's powers. You don't think hero. But there are heroic rogues. Fantasy and pop fiction are filled with the heroic rogue. You know, Robin Hood. Oh, he's a rogue amongst men, but when things get tough, he'll stand in a line and defend the kingdom. You know, it's just a word. You can call them whatever you want. If you don't like the term thief or rogue, expert treasure finder. Dungeon scout's one of my favorite. I'm not a thief, I'm a dungeon scout. Rangers do the ground upstairs, I do downstairs, you know. I'm an investigator. I'm a highwayman. I'm a swashbuckler. There's lots of different terms if you don't want to use thief or rogue. So I don't really understand why we're upset about that. Are we upset because the build makes no sense now? You know, now the build also seems to be about backstabbing DOT, when before, you know, the rogue was all about the skills. The rogue was the quirky skill monkey. The rogue's job was to keep track of the party's treasure, be the face of the party, handle all the bureaucracy and math of the party in the background, and then, you know, do the stuff that nobody else in the party could really do well, detecting traps, all that other stuff, right? If you were an evil, maybe you'd like look for ways to betray the party or steal from the party or take the best stuff, but you were never truly evil because at the end of the day you needed the party to bail you out if you went too far. And so you might have stolen minor things from the party, but you know, it's not like you ever killed your own party members in their sleep. Did you? But the transition from quirky skill monkey to backstab DOT kind of makes it not a rogue anymore, if that's the focus now. And I've looked at a lot of the current iterations of that class. The Castles and Crusades rogue, the Shadowdark rogue, really don't feel like they're built around quirky skill monkey, dungeon scout anymore, and more built around the backstab damage over time mechanic. You know, I go in, I backstab them, I apply modifiers. Over time, those modifiers become greater and greater until the person I backstabbed is rendered harmless or dead if I'm using poison, right? Now I can understand if that's what people are upset about, is you're still calling the class thief, rogue. That implies a certain profession, but when you look at the rollout, that's not what I do anymore. I don't do the detect traps, disable stuff. Now I guess that's the bard's job now. I don't know. Now my job is to being a backup fighter. What if I don't want to be a backup fighter? What if I want to be Bilbo, a halfling rogue? I don't want to go in and backstab and risk getting slapped. I'm a rogue. I want to stay as far away from the fight as possible, just hiding in shadows, disabling traps, messing with people, coming back with treasure, and looking innocent. So I could understand if that's what people's upset about. And again, I would say, find a game where the rogues still do what you want, or change it. You want your rogue to be a quirky skill monkey still? Hey, rogues, I'm using this build. I'm not using that build in my game. Or we're not playing that game. There's no reason to get upset and name calling, you know, and have this side versus that side, and everybody saying the OGGM is dumb. No, just get along. Right? Can we all get along, right? It's just a game. Just do the thing. So these are both controversies that have appeared on my tabletop role-playing game controversy Jeopardy categories for the past couple weeks. And so on our walk today, I'm talking about them because we have nothing else to talk about of any importance. And if you're like me, you don't think this is an argument worth the time. But I guess we have a lot of negative energy that we need to get out. And so we're just picking fights for the sake of picking fights because we need to complain about something when we should all remember that we want to play a stupid game together and instead focus our negative energy on what a fucking idiot Condor DM is. Can we just do that instead? Anyways, that's controversy bingo / controversy Jeopardy for today as we go for our walk, trying to get back up to 10,000, now 12,000 steps. Maybe we'll make it, maybe we won't. Till next time, I'm the OGGM. Talk to you later.